If you're new to angling and you walk into any store looking to fill your first tackle box, you may look past a spinnerbait thinking it's too complex, but actually they're a fantastic lure for new and novice anglers. In this video today, I'm going to talk about all the different considerations when purchasing your first spinnerbait, like size, color, blade shape, and action, as well as a few strategies. Now, spinnerbaits are very versatile, especially for new anglers. They are fantastic because they can be used in a fast retrieve or a slow retrieve, in shallow or deep water, clear or murky water, as well as any weather conditions, either sunny, overcast, or even rainy. Now, spinnerbaits are really great because they're versatile for any type of fishing conditions, and they're actually really great for new or novice anglers. If you've ever taken somebody out for the first time like I do, or first time, or if you're fishing with kids, they always want to be constantly reeling. There's not very much patience when someone's just starting out fishing. A new angler, I think that, a spinnerbait is fantastic because this is one that has to have a constant retrieve. It's not something that you're going to let sink for too long. It will sink, of course, but very, very quickly because it has quite a bit of weight to it. And it's always going to be moving. It has these blades on it, these beautiful blades that give you a nice shine and shimmer as you pull it through the water. So that is it's really great for a new or novice angler because it keeps them constantly active. You practice your casting and you can practice your technique. Now you're going to notice there's a significant variety, but there's also a lot of common features that you're going to see when you go to purchase your first spinnerbait. Now, I'm going to talk about weight first. Generally, you'll see them around, a 1/4 ounce, like this one here. This one's a 1/4 ounce jig. It's fairly small. You can see it. And then I have a 1/2 ounce over here. And you can even get up to, 5/8, which is a bit heavier as well. But I like to stick somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2, just for my own references. As you begin to explore more fishing opportunities, you can expand and increase and specialize. But for beginners, I'd suggest somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2. Probably 1/2 would be best because those are the ones that are going to sink down lower for where you're fishing. So that's where I would generally stick with, this somewhere between 1/2 or 1/4, 1/2, and 5/8 around there. Not too much heavier, not too much lighter. You'll also notice that the wire frame on them is sometimes more compact, or this one's called a finesse or a compact. And then sometimes they are a little bit wider, and this one's a bit bigger. So you can see the difference between these two. There's quite a significant difference. You can see them compared here as well. This one's called obviously the regular size, and this is a more compact or finesse. But having said that, they're still equally likely to catch fish, just some in different conditions. All right, so now you've obviously probably noticed these dangly, beautiful blades. You can find spinnerbaits, of course, with multiple on them or just singles on them. And you're also going to notice they're going to have a variety of shapes, weights, colors, and of course textures. There's some here I have that have some texture on them that you can possibly see. Now I'm going to put a picture down up here right away, and that's going to show you what we have. This is a Colorado blade, and it's very shiny right there, but you can also see the shape of it. It's like a squished egg. It's almost circular. And that one's going to move a lot of water. As it's flowing through the water, it's going to give quite a lot of thump and a lot of vibration. And this one only has one on it. Now this spinnerbait has 2 of them on it, one colored, one not. And this one's called the willow blade, and it's very, very pointed shaped, and it moves less water, and it's more streamlined, and it's more under control. So it moves obviously more like this, and it gives a little bit of vibration. Now you'll notice there's another one here, and there's a size difference, but they're all representative of different shapes. So we have the Colorado, which I've already showed you, the willow, which is this one right here, and now you're going to notice the Indiana blade. And that one is basically a combination in between the Colorado. The willow is this Indiana. Now, you don't see it too often, and I myself only purchased this spinnerbait yesterday just because I noticed that I was able to locate one. Generally, you're only going to see the willow and the Colorado because they've really mastered the market and done very, very well. But I tried this one out anyways myself just to see what the difference was. But in in general context, a willow blade is going to move. It's going to move more streamlined through the water. That means you're going to be able to pull it through the water with less drag, and it's going to have lots of flash and lots of attraction, but it's going to be able to move more quickly. You're going to be able to cover more water. If you have Colorado blades on them, that one is going to be slower, more drag, and a lot more thump. In a situation where you want a lot more thump is where the water's more murky and you can't quite, if the fish isn't able to see the visual presentation, it is by far going to hear, the thump or get the vibrations from that blade. So those are the instances. If you have maybe like a bright day, maybe you're going to go for these, these willow blades, because they're going to give quite a lot of flash on a bright day, but they're also going to be able to move. You're going to be able to cast further, or cast them and retrieve, get more casts out than you would if you had thrown a Colorado blade. So that's what the suggestions are. So if you want to, on a clear day, it's kind of more suggested to do a willow blade because they can be retrieved quicker. And if it's murky or dark water, or even if the water's cooler and the fish are less active, that Colorado blade is going to be slower, to give the fish more time to notice it and really be enticed by that extra bit of thump. Now, for the purpose of this video, to give an actual visual representation of the different types of blades, this hybrid style, which is not very common, around here where I can find them, and I went to put it in the water to take note of how the action moved differently from Colorado and willows, and I couldn't quite figure out why my blade wasn't spinning properly. It quite literally was just stuck sitting in one spot and the other blade was spinning, and it turns out the manufacturer had actually put it on backwards. So sometimes if you pick up a lure and you throw it in the water and it's not working right, maybe just take a few seconds and inspect. So I just quickly took a pair of pliers, bent this back, pulled everything off and put it back on. But that's something that you don't necessarily expect to happen, but these are generally made by hand in that sense. So that's exactly what happened. It got put on backwards. Now, through me talking, I'm sure you've probably noticed that I've got some lures, some spinnerbaits that have one on them, some that have two, and that's just for, personal preference, the variety of fishing that you choose. Generally, you'll see the majority of presentations have a double blades. So one will generally be a little bit smaller, that's closer to the point you attach, and one will be a bit of a trailer. And that's going to, generally it's going to pair up with the length of that skirt. So this is where the action's coming, and the fish is going to, it's horizontal when you're retrieving it, but so that the skirt lays properly, that fish is going to come on and chomp onto it right there, right where the action is, and then he's going to get the business end of that hook, and hopefully you get a good hook set. You'll notice sometimes you'll see some skirts. Some skirts have, see how they're all matching the exact same length right there? And some of them have longer and shorter. Now you may notice with lures like that, if they have this longer bit of skirt right there, you may have more fish just nibbling at the back, and you'll start feeling that. You'll be feeling bites, but you won't be able to hook set anything. And that's what you're doing, is you're just getting a little bit of nibbles at the end there. If you ever notice that, you can throw on a stinger hook like this. So it's a hook. Oh, can you see it? It's a hook attached onto another hook. So as the fish is going to attack that, and it's just missing it because it's hitting the end of the skirt, it's going to get onto that extra hook. That is one of the best tips I can give you to make sure that you're getting the fish that you really want to get. Now, how about color? Like I've just acknowledged that, if it's a bright day or if the water's murky or clear, the visual presentation is also something to consider, but so this is going to represent the body of a fish. And now as it flows through the water, it's going to show you, it's going to pulse. It's going to pop out as the water, and it's going to flow. And I really like the ones that have, shorter skirt. This is called the skirt, a shorter skirt with a longer tail. I really think that is very, very enticing. There are some that you're going to see that have only one skirt, and that's totally fine. They do get a little bit more tangled up, I find, and I end up pulling weeds of them a bit more, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Generally, if you're just thinking about if you're a new angler and you're just thinking about purchasing your first one, I would highly suggest, either chartreuse or chartreuse and white, or white and black, or even sometimes you can get some that are, white and like green. And this one I like because it has, like striated upper portions there, if you can see it. I like that one as well. Now, because this is such a widely used presentation for fishing, it can be used, like I said before, and it can be used slow or fast, shallow or deep. Color is primarily, obviously, color is based on sight, but if the fish can't see it in murky water, then the color is basically irrelevant. So if you're going to be casting into, like tea-stained lakes and the water's not as clear, you're going to want to go for, a very brightly colored, like whites or chartreuse colors that really gets attention. But irregardless, you're going to get the attention of a fish if you've got this flash and those vibrations. So that's what's so fantastic with the spinnerbait, is that you get a visual presentation, you get flash, as well as you get that thump and those vibrations. So if you're looking for a starting point for a general purpose spinnerbait, let's say you only really want to invest in one spinnerbait, although I'm sure once you get into fishing you're going to fill up your tackle box. But let's say you only want to start off with one. So what I would suggest is a double willow spinnerbait, or a willow with a Colorado blade on it. Now, if you can get them where one blade is gold and one blade is silver, that's great. I'm not saying it has to happen that way. It's just a suggestion to get, both color spectrums if you're only going to be picking one. Now, if you're going to be, I would try to get, maybe not a compact one, maybe get a regular sized spinnerbait that's a little bit bigger, as well as possibly making sure that you've got one that's about a ½ ounce, or maybe, a little bit more standard. If you're going to go for color, I would recommend, a white or white and black, or chartreuse, which is this very bright yellow. And even if you get a little bit of, a more natural one that has got a bit of white, red that represents gills, green, which is kind of more natural of a fish color. So those would be some good suggestions. Black sometimes works very well as well on, bright days. Black does well. But if you're going to go for, if you're only picking one, I'd probably suggest, like a white or a chartreuse with maybe a little bit of black in it as well to give it, or any sort of like striped variations. Now, I would say you definitely want to go for double blades. There are a few, if you're thinking trying to be more economic, the ones that only have one blade on them will be more economical. But if you're going to invest some money, you might as well just make sure you're investing it wisely and get a double blade, so you get that action, that flash that you really want. If you think that you're going to be fishing area that's fairly regularly, the water's tea stained or dark, then maybe the Colorado blades might be better for you if that's something that you're going to consider. But if you're thinking general purpose, you don't know what body of water you're going to be fishing, a good starting point would be, a ½ ounce regular sized wireframe with double willows, or a willow and a Colorado blade, and colors that are that it will grab an attention. So white, chartreuse, or blacks, or any of these kind of like multicolored flecks. How it's got flecks, it's striped, gonna really grab some attention. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed this video all about spinnerbaits and picking your first spinnerbait. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you know when we've posted new content.